Hello and welcome to Ditching Hourly. I'm Jonathan Stark, and today I am joined by guest Eleanor Mayrhofer. Eleanor,
Good.
welcome to the
You
show.
got it.
So I wanted to try the real pronunciation.
Thanks
Well,
for having me.
so today we are going to talk about your non-hourly business model. But first, could you tell folks a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Sure. I'm Eleanor. I'm a California native that has lived in Munich, Germany for 20 plus years, thus the last name. And I help thought leaders and authorities showcase their expertise with a world-class website.
Love it. Okay, so we started a conversation over email about this, and I just love the offering that you shared with me. It's a website in a week, basically, kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing, and I want to talk about that. But first, can you tell everyone if you ever billed hourly, what your sort of process was, what you used to do before, and maybe how that's different from now?
No, sure, but no, it never occurred to me to bill hourly, probably
Nice.
because I worked, you might be familiar in your neck of the woods with Sapient.
Yeah.
I kind of cut my teeth there, and that was one of the original fixed time, fixed price shops. And
Oh,
I
cool.
started in like the 1.0 era when they were getting their European operations set up.
Mm-hmm.
And they were bolting on like creative services into their IT consulting. So it was sort of this peanut butter chocolate model. And I didn't know anything. I didn't know any other way. Like I had been doing I've been doing book compositing before that. My dad's a letterpress printer.
Wow.
And so from the get go, I learned about scope and project size and project management and it having to fit in and teams and things going off the rails. But when I started this business, which I sort of avoided for a long time, and then I was kind of backed into it because I had a toddler and it was COVID and I didn't want to contract anymore. And I got a surprise tax bill and was like, well, I guess I'm starting that website business. I don't know. It just never occurred to me to bill hourly. It was just always going to be, I mean, that's not to say that I started with a perfect model right away.
Right.
All of the concerns I had I didn't want a client-based business just because of what I had seen.
Mm-hmm.
And as I suspected, all the issues I had seen in the macro, I was finding in the micro, except I was responsible for all of them. So
Right.
it's been a journey.
Okay, so when you first started, and it wasn't all that long ago if it was COVID, maybe
Yeah.
4 or 5 years ago, something like
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
When you went solo, what was the first thing that you came to market with? Was it
Um,
different?
First, it was just, sending emails to friends and everybody saying, hey, I'm doing websites now. And because I had a very big network, I just was like, I don't know, I guess I'll do it for $1,500. Like, I just didn't think it through. And then I realized it was difficult because a lot of the people I were getting were friends of contacts. And suddenly I was realizing like, this is not sustainable. And I have to find a better way because things work like scope. Even though I knew about managing scope, it's much harder to do when you're the only person doing it. And these were people I knew, and it was getting really awkward and difficult. And I realized I need to find a better model. And I had a coach at the time, and this was very fashionable. It still was this like done in a day model.
Yep.
But I think in retrospect, what I was confused about is this was sort of VIP days, which is just like you book me for 9 hours and we do whatever you want.
Mm.
And then it took me a while to kind of understand I do and did offer that, but that's different than a productized service,
Mm-hmm.
which is essentially just fixed scope, fixed time,
Right.
fixed price.
Right.
So then I sort of worked my way into to a productized model.
Cool. Okay. So what does it look like now? So what's your main offer now?
Well, I don't do the websites in a day anymore for a few reasons, but now it's a website in a week. And the way that works is, well, first we have, I have a discovery call and I get a lot of information in a discovery call. And then we kick it off with kind of a strategy call where I understand what the person's goal is with the website. And there's sort of a few buckets. Like some people, they are just embarrassed and they want to up level and they'll say very frankly, I just need a calling card and I'm like not referring people to my site because it's so outdated. It doesn't have anything to do with what I'm doing.
Right, right.
Then I have another group that I sort of called WordPress refugees, not to throw shade on WordPress, but they just can't manage their site. So I kind of just figure out what they need or what they want. And then we have a copy call and I interview them. And then I go away for a day and a half. And there is a small intake form, which I've cut down to about 20% of what it used to be because I don't have them write their copy anymore. And I have them do.
The quick question though, is that first discovery call, is that a paid thing or is that a sales call?
That's a sales call.
Okay.
That's a sales call.
So they say, great, this sounds good. Here's the price. You give them a price. The price is on your website.
The price is on my website, yeah.
So before they even get on a call with you, they know how much it's going to be. They know how long it's going to take. And they understand what they get. Yeah.
Usually. Sometimes there's things like, oh, and I need a newsletter. I need all these things. I'm like, oh, okay, we can do that, but that's not part. It's like the base price and all of that. But usually it's pretty straightforward. Or there's like, so I'm going to be on the first page of Google. It's like, well, that's another thing too. So sometimes there's a little education going on, but it's pretty straightforward.
Okay, so they say, great, this sounds good. Swipe the credit card, and the first thing you do is take all of your notes and start to do some research or something? Or
first thing, they get an intake. And that is, it used to be this long thing. I was really proud of it. And in retrospect, I just killed the whole thing. But it's like the minimal amount of information I need. So I do have them make a mood board so I can kind of get the vibe they're going for.
How do they do that?
I give them a few different options. They can either use Pinterest. I have a little training around it. They can throw a bunch of pictures in a Google Doc. I try to not force anybody into my process and just make it as easy as possible. I also have a Canva template they can put a few pictures in. From a style perspective, I sort of think of myself as a seasoned studio musician. So I'm not trying to I'm somewhere on the spectrum of style, but I just want to find out, what they like and why. And sometimes it's very clear and sometimes it's sort of disparate, but it helps me get into their head. And then what I do ask for is if they have any testimonials or emails or anything they've gotten from their clients or whoever their audience is that really nails, keys into the messages that they hear over and over and over. So that kind of stuff. So customer voice type stuff.
Yep.
And then just do you have a URL? Do you have a hosting? Or just the basic stuff I need to help launch.
Okay. So you're not specialized on WordPress or Squarespace or anything in particular?
I do only use Squarespace for a couple of reasons. And I used to kind of align more with the platform, but I've downplayed that. But the reason I do is mostly because I looked at Webflow and I started doing WordPress and Shopify. But in the end, I really just wanted to be able to hand people the keys and have them be able to manage things themselves. And for now, Squarespace is, in my view, the best tool for that.
Yeah, I agree. Yep. Okay. So you're getting some customer voice, you're getting some vibes about what you think they're going to like. Do you ask them about, if they have a particular taste, I don't know, say they're into D&D and they want to have dragons and stuff, but they're an accountant, do you have that kind of problem, or are they mostly more on the boring side and what they like is going to align with their goals? Or do you ever have to kind of talk them off a ledge?
That's never happened before. I do think, my own website and my style, I mean, I have case studies and portfolios, but that also speaks, if somebody was really into dragons and doing so, they probably wouldn't hire me just by the look of my stuff.
Right.
And I'd probably try and talk them down.
Yeah, I'm exaggerating a little, but sometimes people's personal taste doesn't really align with the bait they should be using to catch the fish they want.
Yeah. Most people just want to look professional.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right, great. So, what happens next? So you've got that input, and then you're like, okay, let me play around with some things.
Yeah, no, not even then. So then, I know stuff and stuff's percolating in the back of my head, but then we kick off on Monday with a strategy call, and that's strategy/copy call. So I do want to understand what their marketing plan is, and if they've even thought about it. and who they're trying to attract and what their positioning is. There's a couple of questions around that, but not too much. And then, because sometimes there's things like, some people are like, I'm full, I don't need clients, that's not an issue. Or some are not interested in doing a big marketing thing, but they do need to collect some data. So there are like little things we can do, like set up some filters on their contact page to make sure they're getting the right kind of people, and connect it to a Google Doc so they have like the, quote unquote CRM, just so they kind of have a running log. But there are little things you can do, and there's big things you can do. So, and sometimes in rare instances, SEO does make sense. So I'll think about that a little bit more. So I kind of want to just know what the marketing goals are. And then I go into a copy interview. So I have a framework of questions I ask based on what they're trying to do. And I basically interview them to get the copy for the website.
Yeah, that was part of our original conversation, which was that sometimes a web project, like, oh, I need a new website, and then they sit down to do it, and it's like turns into this identity crisis because I don't know what I do. I know what I do, but I don't know how to say it, and I know I help people and they pay me, but I don't really know what they're getting at it. So how, is this the phone call where you try and get that kind of information out of them? Like, how do you walk them through that panic attack of, I've been doing this for 20 years, but I don't actually know what I do?
Yeah. I mean, I think people do, and they can talk about it in a conversation. This was, I kind of had an aha moment several projects ago. Well, it was leading up to several aha moments, but I just realized when I talk to people in calls, they would say, well, you know, what I really do is this, and people trust me about it. And then they tell me like all the things, and just headline after great headline. And then I'd say, okay, now here's my copy collection process. And I was, like I said, very proud of this like whole thing I had engineered. And then they'd sit down and write, and it would be stiff and professional, and it wouldn't be all the things they told me.
Yep.
I had one client, and he has a license to take hunters out to this huge territory in North America. And he said, I want to stress the importance. I said, okay, we'll put a section and you can, write the importance of that. And it was like, not a very exciting couple of paragraphs about that. And he's like, this is not really coming through. And so we were talking. Luckily, I had my, Fathom going. And I said, well, tell me more. And he was like, cars have not been allowed in here since 1974.
Cool.
There's animal security. You wouldn't believe. It was the whole thing. And I was just like, tell me more. And that was like what you need to put on the site. So I just realized this whole thing of trying to drag it out of, and they're experts in what they do. They're just not website copywriters.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't know, how to sit down and write it. So
how long does that take usually?
The interview?
Yeah.
90 minutes to 2 hours. It goes really fast.
Mm-hmm.
If you know the right questions to ask.
Right. So you're recording that. Are you also taking like crazy amounts of notes, or do you go back later?
My AI note taker is, I have a whole transcript.
Okay. And then you go back and sort of pick through it, or do you use AI to pick through it?
I pick through it. I structure the interview in a way that I have like markers in the conversation. And that's why I have the marketing conversation, because I know what I need for the site and where it needs to go. And like if certain pages are going to be more important, and that helps guide the interview process. So I'm interviewing almost to how I'm going to lay out the website. Mm-hmm. So I have all the information. And sometimes in the process of designing it, I will move things around. But I used to do it where I would like sit with the transcript and go through it all and then massage the copy. But obviously that is easier now with AI. And that's not to say I just, obviously I'm not slapping a transcript onto the site.
Yeah, right.
But it helps a lot.
Okay, so I don't know how far into the process are we at this point?
So we are into probably like day 1 and day 2. So we have this interview. Mm-hmm. Usually I get about everything I need. And then I'm going to tell you my whole process here, but basically it's been a long time now, and I have a pattern library. And so I put together the site, and then a lot of it, funnily enough, sometimes the time is finding the right images. If the client doesn't have like I say, and it's 100% true, you can come to me with nothing but a good headshot and I can put together a good website for you. Mm-hmm. but I did a project this summer, and it was for an advisory. It's here in Germany, and they help open up markets in Africa to the German speaking countries. And so 70% of that project, and it couldn't look like an NGO, and it couldn't be like cliched images.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just a lot of photo research, and it was a fun project, but it
Mm-hmm.
was just, that was like the time,
Yeah.
was finding all the photos.
That's interesting because I have another interview with someone who does AI photo shoots. And so, because it's photos have been in the past when I've done my website a few times over the years, and photos were always the big blocker. It wasn't
Right.
the headlines or the copy or any of that, but it was always getting good photos. And that I know from talking to a lot of different web designers, that can be a huge blocker. They're like, oh yeah, as soon as my headshots are done, I'm looking for a photographer. We're going to set up a shoot, and then I'll get back to you, and we can finally do the website project. So I'm not surprised to hear that you have this sort of like, as long as you have a headshot, we can do your website. And and perhaps it might be interesting to consider doing something with AI to, even if that was a roadblock, it's possible to get around that without going through thousands of stock photos. You can actually make stuff that's realistic and cool looking. And anyway, however you feel about that. So photos can take up a lot of time. I don't want to skip over the rest of your process, but
Yeah.
I do want to ask about scope, because the what you're describing sounds very flexible. It sounds like it could go in lots of different directions. It sounds like you've mentioned a couple of very different kinds of clients so far.
Mm-hmm.
And productized service, it needs to be scoped pretty tightly. So how do you do that? What do you say no to? And like, what is the promise?
Yeah.
How many pages do they get? Or
Right.
you've mentioned
Right.
SEO and
Yeah.
all, how many features, and like, I want a scorecard generator and a chatbot and
The advisory client, that was a custom engagement, so that wasn't a website
okay.
in a week. But the hunter and the well, that was. So the scope is very straightforward. It's like all your copy, 6 pages, and launching it. So doing all the
Mm-hmm.
domain connection and all that stuff. So
Okay.
it doesn't lend itself to a lot of customization.
Mm-hmm.
I think the trick with productized services is maybe 65% like fit perfectly into the productized, and the rest you kind of have to tweak or decide. Sometimes I just decide, like, am I going to charge an extra thing? Like, no, I'm not. Or, like, that's one more page. And if it's a simple page that I can put together, I'm not charging extra for that.
Mm-hmm.
But, I have all the scope listed on the sales page. So
Mm-hmm.
that's sort of the boundary. And I think I've had maybe 2 or 3 projects where they sort of went out off the rail. This is like out of 40,
Wow.
where there weren't expectations met and things didn't go the way as planned.
Uh-huh. What do you do in a case like that? Do you just say like, lesson learned, I'll work until they're happy, or money back, or prorated something?
One project, actually have a blog post about this. One project, I don't know, the expectations were really mismatched. And with some clients, I think a website can be a very psychological process.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're getting ready for your close-up. And I just try to be human with people. And I just said, look, you're not satisfied. I'm frustrated. Why don't we do this? I'll meet you halfway. And I think I did another design day and charged 50%. And
Mm-hmm.
and it felt good to both of us. And we got it back on track.
Cool. Perfect.
Another time, the only other time was just like somebody, and this again rarely happens, but the person just didn't show up to meetings and didn't do their pre-work and everything, and then was just like not productive in the session. And this was a long time ago, I can't even remember what I did, but I think I just said like, this isn't working, and I gave them half their deposit back. But it's just not.
Yeah. The reason I wanted to sort of drag you through that is because it really freaks people out when the idea of a fixed price of any kind, even a productized service, it freaks people out because they imagine all the ways that it could go off the rails and all the times that projects in an hourly basis have gone over budget. And they can't believe that, that it wouldn't go horribly every time. So the two things I want to emphasize here are that it hardly ever happens.
Mm-hmm.
And when it does, you just work it out and it's
Yeah.
fine. It's not that
Yeah.
big a deal.
Yeah.
It's nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
So, okay. So the scope is defined well on your site. So if somebody brings something up and you're like, that's, chatbot, we're not doing a chatbot and like
Yeah.
ingesting all of your
Yeah.
past podcast episodes and having like a digital twin of you. But what happens when someone comes along and they do want something more elaborate? Are you like, nah, I'd rather hand them off to someone else who does that on a regular basis? Or would you put together like a custom scope,
Then I put
custom
together a
project?
proposal, and I sort of have a lot of filters on my consult booking page. So
Mm-hmm.
I sort of say, what are you interested in? And lots of times it's funny, they don't really look at your website. So they're
I
like, I
know.
don't know, understand it, which is okay. But a lot of that's clarified in the discovery call. And sometimes you can tell a lot by the way somebody fills in a form. So if I'm like,
It's true.
take a look at this, this is what I do, and this is that project, and these tend to run, starting at this price, or, so, but when if I get a feeling that this is going to be more complicated, then I'm like, yeah, I'll put together a proposal, and then I do a small, medium, large.
Okay, cool. How do you get the word out about what you're doing? Obviously, you come on podcasts and talk about it.
Yeah,
But what are some other things you do? Because it sounds, I mean, you haven't been in business that long, a few
yeah,
years,
yeah.
40, you mentioned 40 clients or something like that. So
Mm-hmm.
that's pretty solid.
Mm-hmm.
Where do these people come from? Is it, do you have a particular funnel or is it just networking?
Well, it started, I did have a pretty broad and deep network from my time at Sapient.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I contracted for years at agencies around town. So that was helpful. But then I just got on LinkedIn. I have to say,
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn was really helpful. And now it's at the point where a lot of it is just referrals and repeat business.
Oh,
That is,
really? Repeat business?
yeah. Like a client, sometimes they come later for marketing stuff. I'm kind of like, what I'm trying to do more of, there's this awkward spot where they really don't have the bandwidth to do marketing. And there's a lot of education I have to do. Like, this is just step one. Like, if you want to get more, you have to, find something that works. And I very much have a kind of right fit philosophy. It doesn't have to mean social media. It doesn't have, let's find something you'll just do
Yeah.
consistently. That's
Something that
my,
you won't reject out of hand.
exactly. That's really different for a lot of people. I'm
Yeah.
often surprised. And then, yeah, a client just said it's time for a refresh. And then clients just refer me to other people.
Mm, cool. Does it say on your clients' websites who did the website? Like, can they?
I kind of never really do that. I probably should, but I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing wrong with doing that. I always am like hesitant to ask. So, but I do have probably my most prized mailing list is my client mailing list. And I do offer clients commissions for referrals.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So, they forget that, and I remind them, and they're always like, oh, okay. And oftentimes they take it in work. So I
Oh,
may give them the offer. You can take a percentage, or you can take it in like, I'll give you half a day for this. And half the time they take it in
cool.
work.
Do you offer any subscription kind of maintenance-y type things? I know some other I know some people that use Squarespace that aren't technical. And even though Squarespace is probably the easiest one to
Yeah.
use, they still will get jammed up on things.
I would listen to many podcasts and was like very seduced by this concept for a while. And I think I like bought, what's his, Brett's design. I bought his
Yeah.
prototype.
Design Joy.
And then I just realized I am not the kind of person, I don't want people in my inbox all the time. And that one of my axes of like lifestyle and wealth and happiness is just control of my time.
Mm-hmm.
I do have like marketing, like fixed scope marketing retainer. So if somebody says,
Okay.
I'm going to have, I'll interview you, we'll make a post, turn it into newsletter, and just do that once a month. But they have to do a website with me first, because I don't want to have somebody in my inbox that I don't want in my inbox.
Mm-hmm.
Even though 95% of my clients are moved right onto my client email list. But yeah, I just decided that's not for me.
Okay. And what about positioning, you didn't explicitly talk about this too much, but how much do you get into it with people about, who their target is, what the promise is, or is it more like, are is it a mix? Like, are some websites like really targeted at a particular audience, but other ones that you do for people are much more like a business card, I think you said?
Yeah. Um, my some clients really do know this and they have it pretty dialed in when they come to me, and some are a little fuzzier on it. And my goal is to get them launched with a good enough positioning statement,
Okay.
because I do believe there is kind of a psychological hurdle to just launching. And
Yep.
once we do that, I have a post somewhere called "Your website launch is not your wedding day." Like, you can refine it. You can refine it. It's not
Uh-huh.
static.
Yeah.
And this is kind of why I moved to this model. There's something I'm calling the 3 Ps, which is positioning, perfectionism, and procrastination. And that is what stops people from launching. And
Mm.
so my goal is just to help them move through all that and get something. I just did one of these websites in a week, and this person, she's still in like a VP role in her corporate job, but she sort of wants to gradually move into coaching people.
Mm-hmm.
But it's something she's nursing on the side. She doesn't have any urgency around it at all. But she was
Mm-hmm.
like, people are asking me, I need to have to send them somewhere. And a lot of it was about balancing her like deep chops in corporate, but with a more kind of intuitive, meditation-y, for lack of a better term,
Mm-hmm.
woo
Yeah.
aspect. And so we
Right.
worked on that a little bit. And, it's what we came up with. It nails what she's doing, but it's not like going to win any copywriting prizes, to be
Uh-huh.
perfectly honest. But
Right.
it does the job.
Mm-hmm. No, I like that. I like that point of like, just get it launched. You can iterate it. You can't steer a parked car.
Yeah,
It's like,
that's a good
get
one.
it rolling. It's like, I like that. Getting them through the procrastination, because I certainly, well, I guess, I mean, this is a good question for you. Like, does it happen where, you sort of go into your cave, you do your thing, you come back, maybe it's a day or two of work, and they're like, oh, this is not what I expected, or I like, now that I see it, I can't bring myself to put this out there, or you stay well within those guardrails. So you basically know you're gonna not have a ton of revisions because you're basing it so much on that first interview.
Yeah, I was really scared of that in the beginning. And it just doesn't happen that often. It's not that it never happens, but it just doesn't happen that often. I think there's, for two reasons. If you get the right information,
Mm-hmm.
that helps you kind of know where you're going directionally. And I don't know, for lack of a, but it's just confidence. I know what I'm doing, and I'm not, I think that gets somehow communicated through the process. And it's their own word. So like in this
Mm-hmm.
one with the VP, we were, by the time we launched, it was maybe 85% there. So like back into the process. So Wednesday,
Mm-hmm.
I show her the site, and we spend 2 hours wordsmithing things on each page, maybe swapping out a couple of images. And then I have the fourth day is just sort of like a just in case day, in case I do need to make more revisions or I did somehow miss the mark. That can happen. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't like to just say like, all right, take it or leave it. There has to be some buffer.
Yeah.
And then the final day is just a training session. I give everybody like custom tutorials, but I kind of, we go on a test drive together and
Mm-hmm.
wrap up
Cool.
and show them how the whole thing works. And then I hand them the key.
Cool. That's great. So are you like setting up, I forget how it works. You have to mess with their DNS? Like,
It's not sometimes,
yeah.
um, but it's doable. Now, usually it's pretty easy to connect. If they don't have a URL or a domain, that's almost better because then we can just do it as part of the process. But lots of times it's hosted. But if it's hosted at one of the main people, you can connect it. And
Mm.
it's just what I don't like to touch is people's email. So I have
Yeah,
to
that's the
communicate.
thing.
I'm like, that's IT. Like
Yeah,
I still
yeah,
ask
yeah.
my husband to do that stuff. I can't
Yeah.
help you.
Yeah,
So
that scares me too.
yeah. Oh, really? That's good to know.
Yeah, I don't like, email is a black
Yeah.
box to me.
Like
It's like,
MX Records.
exactly. It's like, don't
Can't
touch
help.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's arcane.
Yeah.
That's more neckbeard than I ever was.
Yeah.
So, okay. So, and then that's that. So the Friday, you're like, all right, take it through the training session. It's all linked up. Domains names propagate pretty quickly these days. So they're like,
Mm-hmm.
woohoo, I've got my new website. Is
And
there,
I mean, actually, if everything is good on Wednesday, I do that on Wednesday in case there are problems with propagation or whatever. But
Mhm,
I really, and I emphasize this from the beginning, like I'm really going to push you to launch.
mhm.
Sometimes another thing that will happen is it's not like that I missed the mark or they're not happy, but a client will get really fixated on like 47 shades of blue.
Yeah.
And I have to like reel that in and say this, it matters, but it really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know,
It
and
matters
that, and
much
it's
more to get it
something
live.
else. It's something, again, it's like some psychological thing it's not about the blue, but
Hmm.
it becomes
Yeah.
a stumbling block.
Yeah. I've had people
So
that are like, oh, I don't want to launch it until some other event takes place, like some other, and I don't mean an event, but I mean like some, they're like blocking themselves mentally because their social media campaign isn't ready. And, it's just like, just tick this off, get it up there. No one's going to go to it.
yeah,
You know what I
I'm
mean?
always like, have, take solace in the fact there's not going to be a tsunami of traffic the minute
Yeah,
we
yeah,
hit
yeah.
like public.
People are not sitting around waiting
Yeah,
for something to browse on the internet and
yeah,
like, oh,
yeah,
good, a new website.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm big on that too. So then after the Friday, do
Mm-hmm.
you have I'm just curious about your process. Is there a follow up process? Do you have like a testimonial request process? Is that all real casual?
Yeah, they get 30 days of email support, and like Loom is one of the must-have tools
Hmm.
in my toolbox.
Hmm.
So stuck in it, inevitably there's like a link was broken or something. So yeah, obviously I'll fix that, or if they try and do something, the first thing I do is make screenshots. So if they get creative, I have like a record about look, so I launch it.
That sounds like a
And
hard one tip.
yes. Um, and I do like, I have a bunch of, I back up in air quotes, like the section. So if they do something,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
can't find their way back. We can renew it pretty easily.
Mhm.
And then, yeah, I use a StoryBrand framework. I, send them a 5-question questionnaire about their experience. And I ask them if I can move them onto my client mailing list.
Hmm. Okay. And the referral thing, do you tell them about the referral?
No, I probably should. I probably should be like more proactive about that. But I sent my client email list. I send out every other month or maybe once a quarter, and
Mhm.
it's more just like here are things with Squarespace. Here's what I'm thinking about marketing. I do a little client highlight, like a project I'm working on, or shout outs, because a lot of my clients are doing stuff. So I like to shout out, like, this person just published a book or is running a
Oh,
workshop or whatever.
cool.
And I just have like a standard thing. Don't forget, if you're on this list, I want more clients like you. And if you send people my way. So it's just a gentle reminder
That's
about
cool.
the
No, I
email.
like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's pretty chill.
Yeah.
Cool. So, what would you say to people who are thinking about offering some kind of a productized service? And there's lots of different kinds. The kind that you just described is
Mm-hmm.
like I would consider like the canonical style of fixed scope, non-recurring. You don't have
Mm-hmm.
any recurrence of
Mm-hmm.
anything. It's classic. It's like a price on your website for a fixed scope of work and deliverables and an outcome, basically. Like you're
Mm-hmm.
going to have a Squarespace site that you're proud to share with people by the end of this week,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
So, what could you say to people that are maybe they've been doing hourly, maybe they're doing custom projects, and what could you tell them about maybe the pros and cons, or for people that haven't experienced it?
Um, I guess it is just, you won't have billable work. So you do have to kind of know what you're doing in terms of scoping it. So
Hmm.
you have to be pretty clear about your communication about what people are getting.
Hmm.
So that's why I have those discovery calls and I
Expectations.
walk through people. I don't ever assume they've read the sales page.
Yeah, they don't.
So I have to do that. And that solves like 80% of any potential issues. It's just being very clear about what the offer is.
Hmm.
And sometimes you do have to say, like, well, have some scripts in your back pocket when somebody wants something that's out of scope.
Hmm.
But it's business, and I like my clients. And so sometimes, again, like you just have to make the decision on the fly. And it's like my internal resentment meter. And if I don't mind doing something,
Right.
that's not to say like it can be, but I don't want to, some clients are very cognizant of the scope of things, and will say like, well, that wasn't really, I'm like, it's fine. It's not going to take me much time, and it works and what we're doing. And others aren't.
Yep.
And then they do say like, oh, wouldn't it be cool to have a chatbot? And then you have to say, that's, or they'll show you some site that's clearly a 30K site. It's like, well, they had drone photography. Like, we're not going to be able to do that in this engagement. And you just have to get comfortable communicating those things. And most people are fine when they understand that. You also don't have the benefit of recurring revenue. So that you're doing a lot of sales. So that's one thing. But I just think there are, I was talking to a friend who's an architect in LA, and he's starting to do plans for people whose houses burned down. And I just thought, ooh, I don't know much about architecture, but that just seemed like ripe for a productized offer to me.
Right.
And I'm sure the people who need the service don't know exactly what they need, but he can figure out what they need. Because sometimes it's just you understand better. I mean, the client knows what they need, yes. But I think in our email exchange, you said, I was pointing out you called the website the inciting event, and I call it the presenting symptom.
Yeah, right. That too.
Because sometimes it is just what they think it is, but sometimes it's not. Like they'll say, well, I need more clients. And it's like, well, the website alone is not going to do that. That's like a part of that process, perhaps, but what you really have is like a marketing problem. So it's about really understanding. That's why a lot of my clients and my projects, I think, go pretty well, is because they kind of understand what they need and what they're getting. And in the sales call, I can determine if that's going to solve their problem.
So what about lead time? When somebody sets up a call like that, I assume it's pretty much out of the blue, and you just get a notification from your website, or somebody refers someone. It's like, boom, like a lead popped into my inbox. What's the sort of sales window from that happening to them giving you a yes or a no?
It's pretty quick.
We're not talking about 9 months here, right? Like,
no. It's weeks. Some bigger clients, it's longer for custom engagements.
Sure.
It's usually longer if I've written a proposal. But for the productized, for the website in a week, it's like people are like, okay, let's do it, or no, or whatever. But it's a pretty quick decision.
And how, if you just had to guess, how many of these sales calls do turn into a client, percentage wise?
Maybe 60%.
Okay. So the thing that I'm calling out for people, if not explicitly, but is that usually for productized service, the level of effort of the sale is really low.
Yeah.
Because, it's like one conversation, maybe a short one, maybe it's a brief email exchange, but it's not like these deals that will go like 3 quarters, and like you send out a proposal and they're like, we've got a blocking project, or we lost our funding, and then we'll get back to you in the spring. And it's not really, usually it's not like that. And it sounds like that's your experience too.
Absolutely. I have a few bigger project proposals out now, and they've had them one out, and I keep saying like, I don't want to spam you if you've gone in another direction. No hard feelings. No. And it's sort of, I mean, they're great because a bigger project, you can like feast on that longer, and it's, a bigger project. But I do appreciate the rapidity of the productized offer.
Yeah. So do you see yourself, I mean, what's your long-term plan, do you think? If you had to say right now, is the productized service a means to an end to pay the surprise tax bills while you get larger, feast projects, or do the feast projects stress you out when you get them, but they're good money? Some people don't like being on long projects.
Well, when I say long project, I mean like 2 months. I mean, I don't have the temperament. I think that was just my scars from being on like those long engagements.
Forced march to hell.
Yeah. I like the variety, if I'm being honest. I worked with a client, and we did a lot of strategy work for 3 months, and then we did a custom engagement that was over 2 months. And it was really not, I was like, I just got to reach out to her because we were together for 6 months. Like, and the website part of it only took 2 months, but that was it was a pleasure to work on that project. And it really, and she sent me like, once it was live and we did like a marketing piece, and she started doing some stuff on LinkedIn, and she sent me a WhatsApp, I think I put on my website, where it's like, and the person said from my website, I'm the exact person, and it was her avatar and all, and that's very gratifying,
Yeah.
And yeah, so I don't have a good answer for that. I kind of like bouncing around both.
Mm-hmm. That's cool.
It's just the timing sometimes is tricky, because if this like one project that I lands, then I need to devote a lot of my time to that. And so you kind of have to juggle sales calls, and some people have a lot of urgency, and then you have to make a call like, could I do this and the bigger project? So you kind of have to do a lot of traffic management and guessing, and sometimes that's a little tricky.
Yeah, that's true. So I guess we should wrap up, but I wanted to kind of bring up the last classic objection to productized services and get your opinion about it. But a lot of people are afraid they're going to get bored doing the same thing over and over again. And I think every client is so different that even when it's the same scope every time, it's very different still. It's still a service that you're delivering, like a hands-on, high-touch service. You just sold it like a product. So, not to lead the witness too much, but do you get bored just doing, if you did like 10 of these in a row, would you be bored of it?
No, my secret tagline is, I work with people I want to sit next to at a dinner party.
Yeah, sounds
so like I told you, like this advisory project for people opening up African markets, and the guy leading these like hunting tours with sat phones in Canada, and a VP in HR. Like there's some similarities. It took me a long time. My positioning, I mean, I feel like many people are continually, it's like a lifelong project, but I just realized they're all experts. A client in London, this guy argued in front of the British Supreme Court. Like, it's always interesting.
Yeah.
And I finished just about every project being like, wow, that was really fascinating. And that the subject matter itself keeps me interested. So I'm not bored yet.
Cool. Love it. All right. This has been great, Eleanor. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Where can people go to find out more about what you're doing? Maybe sign up to get a website done or refer you to someone else?
They can go to my name, EleanorMayrhofer.com. That's EleanorMayrhofer.com. And I have some special treats at my website /ditching.
Oh, cool. You're so prepared. Very impressive.
Well, it's not live yet. I'm hoping you're not publishing this tomorrow, but it will be.
Okay, cool. All right, folks, that's it for this week. I'm Jonathan Stark, and I hope you join me again next time for Ditching Hourly. Bye.